Okay, so we've read chapter 1 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and now what we're going to do is we're going to practice our writing. So I have here a little question, what's called a prompt. It's prompting you to write. And it says, describe the character of Edmund from chapter 1. Use evidence from the text to support your claim. And you'll see the second sentence quite a lot in 5th grade. So what that means is what we call in 5th grade TBE. That means text-based evidence. And that is a direct quote from the text. So we're going to make a claim, and we're going to say Edmund is, or you could say Edmund could be described as. Edmund's character shows that he is, and so you're making a claim. Now you need to go back to the text. You're going to find your evidence from the text. Well, you want to make your claim from the evidence. So I'm going back to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And Edmund doesn't talk a lot in this particular chapter, but I'm going to go with what I have so far. So if you remember Susan talking about the old man, the professor, where they're living, she says, I think he's an old dear. And Edmund says, oh, come off it, said Edmund, who was tired and pretending not to be tired, which always made him bad-tempered. Don't go on talking like that. Like what? Said Susan. And anyway, it's time you were in bed. Trying to talk like mother, said Edmund. And who are you to say when I'm to go to bed? Go to bed yourself. Okay, looking at the way Edmund speaks to his sister, what does that tell us about Edmund? It says when he's tired, he becomes bad-tempered. And think about the way he speaks to her. Susan is the older sister, but he talks very angrily towards her. And he obviously doesn't like being told what to do. Let's see, what else with Edmund? Edmund, when they're talking about noises, he says, it's only a bird, silly, when he's talking to his younger sister. So think about the way he speaks to his siblings, his older sister and his younger sister. He doesn't speak very kindly. So I might say, Edmund, how about, can be a very moody person and is not particularly nice. Okay, so that's my claim. That didn't spell that correctly. That's my claim. And I'll make it so it sticks out. I'm going to make it another color. So I'll make it blue. So Edmund can be a very moody person and is not particularly nice. I got that from the text, but now what we want to do is I want to actually put a direct quote. So I'm going back to, and I'm sorry, you have this in your toolbox, putting textual evidence in your writing. That's something to help you out. And I'm just kind of following that. So let's see. I like this part here where Edmund speaks to his sister, not particularly nice. So I'm going to put this in as my evidence. Now, if you have this, which you have in your toolbox, it says, find what you want to quote. It's going to be something that helps explain the claim you're making. Okay, so we found we're going to use where he speaks to his sister. And then it tells you, set up your evidence. Explain in writing what is happening in the scene before you insert the quote. Okay, and why do we do that? It lets the reader know what's going on because they might not have read the story. So I might say, when Edmund was speaking to his sister, let's put it, his older sister, Susan, he acts very disrespectfully Actually, let's say he acts very disrespectful. Let's say he speaks. And let's take speaking out. When he was talking to his older sister, Susan, he speaks very disrespectfully, saying, and then I'm going to put quote, because I am going to quote directly from the text. Oh, come off it. So you see here where I have my parentheses, it's because I quoted directly from the text. And later on, he tells her not to talk like she's his mother. Okay, do you see the difference here between "oh, come off it," which is a direct quote, and then when I put "he tells her not to talk like she's his mother," that's a paraphrase of what he says. So this is text-based evidence, and this is a paraphrase. This is a direct quote from the text, and this is me putting what happened in the text in my own words. Okay, so I went back to the text. Does this show that he's a very moody person and not particularly nice? Yes, it does. Okay, if I go back here for some support, I set up my evidence, I put the quote in my writing, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain in my own words what this proves. What does this show? And we'll make that, how about let's make that red. This shows, and I could also put this proves, this explains. This shows that Edmund is not a very nice person by the way he speaks to his siblings. And in fact, I've stopped. Look here, I have a whole paragraph. I have a claim, I have evidence, and then I explained it. Now, the one thing I want to do before I finish, I might say, was there anything else that I could put in here that would explain this claim? So besides the way he speaks to his older sister, is there anything else in the text that showed him not to be particularly nice? And we could make a case for the way he kind of dismisses his younger sister when he calls her silly. Now, this actually might be difficult for us to understand because when we use the word silly today, we don't necessarily mean it as a bad thing. We might say, oh, they're really silly. And what we mean is they make us laugh or they're being funny. But in the time when C.S. Lewis wrote this in the 1940s and 1950, silly was almost a dismissive way of saying stupid. So we'd have to get that context. So I can actually add that. I can say, furthermore, I did spell, here we go. Furthermore, Edmund dismisses his sister's observation by saying, and I'm going to put this in quotes, by saying, quote, let's see, it's only a bird, silly. And I'm going to, and so now let's look at this thing as a whole. So we had to describe Edmund from chapter 1. We said Edmund can be a very moody person and he is not particularly nice. When Edmund was talking to his older sister, Susan, he speaks very disrespectfully saying, quote, oh, come off it. And later on, he tells her not to talk like she's his mother. Furthermore, Edmund dismisses his sister's observation by saying, quote, it's only a bird, silly. This shows that Edmund is not a very nice person by the way he speaks to his siblings. So look, I have a whole paragraph. I have a claim, I have evidence, and I have my explanation. And for the beginning of the year, we want to start with at least getting these basics down, and we'll work on expanding our writing later on. So now your assignment is going to be doing the same thing with Lucy.